dogs are a little bigger, but even like half vinegar. But Jake,
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to respect your time. So, first of all, is there anybody that does not have a copy of the press release that wants one? If you need one later, let me know. I've got plenty of them. We want to welcome you all to this press conference today. The reason behind this is, and myself, Director Anderson, Director Berry have done probably hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews over the last 5 years just talking about different issues when it comes to medical marijuana, and a common theme has been the problems Oklahoma's having and what are we going to be doing about it. And you know, we've been doing a lot at the Bureau of Narcotics and at OMMA to address the issues, and we've got numbers now that kind of bear out that what we're doing is working here in Oklahoma. We just finished our registration season. All of our licenses expire on October 31st, and so we have new data. And at our peak, and it's in the press release, but at the peak of Oklahoma's medical marijuana program, we had at the Bureau of Narcotics 9,400 active registrations for growers in the state of Oklahoma. As of October 31st, November 1st, that number had dropped to 3,200, so almost cut by 2/3. That is a direct result of the work by the Bureau of Narcotics and the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, working diligently over the last 2.5 to 3 years to address the criminal elements that have put our numbers at 9,400, many of which were straw owners facilitating fraudulent paperwork to get licensed in Oklahoma, and also the black market growers that were using those licenses to facilitate their black market drug trafficking all over the United States using Oklahoma as a base of operations. We have recognized this over the last 3 years, and these two agencies have worked very, very hard to address these from multiple angles that are all outlined in the press release. But with these new numbers now dropping from 9,400 down to 3,200, it really shows the success. We are by no means finished, and both the Director Berry and Director Anderson will be talking about what we've done to get to this point and also what we have planned going forward. Simultaneously, what you're seeing behind me is a feed from a marijuana operation where we served a search warrant this morning up in Delaware County in Grove. It just happened to fall on this date, but it is very important to mention this because it is something that we are doing every day. Our agency, OMMA, working behind the scenes that a lot of times the press does not get to see. All the effort that's going into what we're doing to try to address the criminal elements that are trying to get a foothold in our state. And this is just an example, this video of one operation, the type of operations that we are literally doing on a daily basis. As you can see in the press release, we've shut down well over 1,000 of these grow operations just in the last 2 years. And so that's what the video is that you're seeing, kind of what our teams are doing, how hard they're working every single day. And this is not only about stopping these criminals from trying to get a foothold, thinking that Oklahoma's the Wild West and a safe haven, which has kind of been our reputation. The word has gotten out around the country that Oklahoma now has some of the most efficient, effective regulatory and enforcement practices in the country. And that has absolutely sent a message to anybody else trying to get in here with a criminal motive and trying to get through a fraudulent license to get operational in our state. We're also hearing a lot of positive feedback from the industry itself. I can't tell you, and Director Berry and Director Anderson can echo this, that the industry itself is saying thank you very much for what you're doing, because it has made it very, very difficult on the legitimate people to succeed in Oklahoma when they've had to compete for 4.5, 5 years with some of these criminal elements. So I first want to introduce Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority Director Adria Berry to share a little bit insight on OMMA and the work that they've done, and then OBN Director Donnie Anderson will follow, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Hello everyone, I'm Adria Berry. I'm the Executive Director of the OMMA. I just want to give a quick overview of our role in the enforcement of regulations and rules in the medical marijuana industry. We license patients, we license the commercial businesses, and then we go out and we do compliance inspections across the state. Whenever we're out at compliance inspections, we often find troublesome things. So we'll see things that indicate criminal activity. That's when we pull in law enforcement, and we lean on our partners at OBN and law enforcement across the state to help us with those situations. But at the end of the day, OMMA's role is to ensure that any product that reaches a dispensary shelf has been properly tested and is safe for consumption. That's the bottom line for us, and that's the North Star that guides what we do. We have some statistics on what we've done this year. I'm going to turn it over to Portia Riley, our PIO, really quickly to give you some of that.
As you all know, we became an independent state agency November 1 of last year, and since that date, in that short amount of time, we've yielded 1,314 administrative cases. We've performed nearly 7,000 inspections, 4,600 operational status visits, embargoed around 3,000 pounds, and 71,000 plans. So we've come a long way in such a short amount of time. As you all know, in this agency, first got up and running, we were behind on inspections, we had a long way to go, but now we've staffed up, we're boots on the ground, we've elevated our compliance and enforcement efforts, and we're out here reigning in this industry, regulating to the efficiency we should have been in. But again, it takes time to staff up, get boots on the ground, and get to where we're at. Also, our partners, we've been doing a lot of work with the AG, partnering here with OB&DD, and like Mark said, again, it's all an effort to make sure that we are getting illicit activity under control, and from our standpoint, that's regulating commercial licensees and licensed businesses, making sure that they are in compliance. All right, do you guys have any questions? Oh, sorry, Donnie.
I'm Donnie Anderson, Director of Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. Thank y'all for being here. I won't be very long, and we'll open up for questions. One of the most significant things I do want to touch on, other than the regulatory aspect that OMMA has been doing over the last couple of years, and it's been very, very effective, is the enforcement that our agency has been doing. When I came into the Bureau at the height of what was going on in the medical marijuana industry, we had over 9,400 grows in the state of Oklahoma, statewide. And when you look at where we're at today, when we closed registration at the end of October, we're down to 3,200. That's a difference of 6,200 grows in the state of Oklahoma. We can account for 1,000 of those grows that we physically touched and served search warrants on and shut down. There are several thousand grows that were touched by this aspect as well from enforcement. But when you have a dual-pronged approach of what we've been seeing over the last couple of years with a very effective enforcement, criminal enforcement, and the inspections from OMMA, the regulatory aspect of it is why we're seeing the decrease that we're seeing. And also some of the requirements that we're requiring for people to have now to even have a registration through OBN, and what OMMA has done as well for their license process. That is one of the reasons why we have seen. We was notoriously known as the Wild West weed state of the nation. We have actually garnered some face back. We've actually hear from other agencies across the state who are experiencing some of the things that we experienced in the past. We don't know how we was effective in doing what we were doing, and we're obviously sharing that with them. And it was an accident that this operation was going on today. We do operations almost every day, but this operation that you see running behind me, it is a huge operation that was producing and warehousing hundreds of thousands of pounds of medical marijuana to be sent out across the U.S. It is absolutely 100% under a fraudulent license, and it was a total criminal syndicate with ties to the East Coast that was just an absolute fraud from the very beginning. We will open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
You mentioned in the press release, it talks about the transnational criminal groups and kind of a series of crimes. Can you kind of expand on some of the crimes you all have seen and the dangers those can bring?
Well, with the transnational criminals comes your transnational crimes, which is your homicides, your human trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking. We've seen a huge uptick in ketamine trafficking and some of the other violent crimes, the robberies. It has been, for the last 3 years, for the whole state, we have seen a huge uptick in every crime that's imaginable that is directly related to these organizations, these criminal organizations.
This video that we're watching, can you give us a brief information on the location, time, and anything else that you
The video is a loop that you're seeing, but we're actually there currently now. We arrived at this location this morning. It is an operation that is in progress. We will be there probably for the majority of the day, if not well into the evening. It is in Mays County, Oklahoma. It is also, I can't go really in depth because the suspects haven't been arraigned yet, but I can tell you they will be prosecuted in Mays County through District 12, District Attorney Mac Ballard. He will be the prosecutor handling the case, but I can't get too in depth on that until after they're formally arraigned.
Well, I know you can't go too in depth, but are these the foreign nationals you are holding a news conference about today?
This person here is a national criminal organization. It has ties to the Northeast or the Eastern Coast crime syndicate. This is not a foreign national. It does have foreign nationals involved in it, but the main suspect in this is not a foreign national.
You all have a moratorium in place. What did that do to your license numbers coming down as a part of this effort?
So it's the OMMA that has a moratorium in place. Our license numbers have steadily gone down, but we have a different licensing process. OBNDD's licenses all expire the same day every year, October 31st. Ours are rolling. It depends on when the person applies. So our license numbers have gone down, and we have those numbers.
Currently, we have 9,798 active commercial licenses and 341,243 patient licenses.
But patient licenses are not under a moratorium.
No. And it's grower, dispensary, and processor licenses that are under moratorium for clarification.
Can y'all explain, because we had a big bust back in Wagner County, and there was an Attorney General's task force. Are you all a part of that, or are you doing your own operation here? Are there multiple agencies addressing marijuana? Or how do I distinguish between who's doing what?
That was the Attorney General, and I think you was with them that day, if you want to comment about that.
We partner with the Attorney General, his task force, to assist on the regulatory side, to go out and assist with the investigation. We have data on our back end, our inventory tracking system, that we utilize to compare what is tracked and traceable versus what's actually on site. OBNDD is the Bureau of Narcotics. I mean, they are here to enforce the law, and Director Anderson can expound on that. We are the regulatory body that was established after State Question 788 passed, and so our jurisdiction is over licensed facilities. So our commercial licensees, we ensure compliance, and sometimes that does lead to investigations, and it leads to us partnering with law enforcement to shut them down, and then we go ahead and revoke their license.
While you're up there, I have seen some billboards and marquees in Tulsa. My license is for sale. I no longer want to do this. How are you making sure that those licenses aren't bolts of people you're trying to crack down on?
We have to go through a very rigorous process. We research, dig in deep on every single transfer application that we receive.
So it's not like your house, I can just sell it to the best?
No, no. There's a rigorous process going on.
So growers are coming forward saying OMMA is nitpicking legitimate growers and revoking their license for not having the exact font or color on their sign. They believe it's a bit excessive. Legitimate growers are being targeted for a sign. So we just want to know why OMMA has decided to focus on that. Is it maybe just to hopefully catch criminals, or why have you guys focused on that?
Sure. As I said, we're the regulatory body, and so when the legislature passed the grow signage bill, it was in black and white that our job is to revoke the license of any grower who does not have proper signage up. So there's no gray area. There's no opportunity for OMMA to make a choice there. It's in the law. It's what we do.
Do you know about how many licenses you've revoked because of the signage?
Yeah, only about 160 out of the thousands.
Are you asking the legislature for any new authority this coming session, or anything you don't have at your arsenal yet?
We'll be talking with the legislature about a completely separate issue of the intoxicating hemp-derived products that we're seeing across Oklahoma. Those are in a regulatory gray area in Oklahoma, as well as across the U.S. since the 2018 Farm Bill left kind of a loophole regarding hemp. So that's really going to be our main focus at the legislature this year, looking to ask them to make sure there is some regulation on the products that people can purchase and consume and inhale. That's it.
Does hemp get in the way of these investigations on occasion because it's so similar to marijuana?
They are very similar. So we are always incredibly careful to make sure that what we are looking at is in fact medical marijuana and not hemp. That's our first question when we suspect criminal activity, is to make sure we know what we're looking at. There are tests out there that make it easier to figure out quickly, and we're looking into getting some of those in our hands.
What prompts an investigation? Say this one, for example, how does the agency go about this and know when you should go out and take a look?
This is an investigation. Actually, it's a little over a year old. So understand the difference between myself and Director Berry. I am the criminal drug enforcement aspect of the state. She is regulatory. So it is our job, my job, for the people who are distributing the product illegally or on the black market to go after them. So we have been, for 3 years now, we've been very aggressive doing this. So we come from, because a lot of these are linked together. This one, for example, was an investigation that we went full on a little over a year ago, but we was aware of it through some other investigations that linked us to this actual particular place that we're at today. And also understand, when you talk about some of this national and transnational criminals, it's to the point to where we've really got to pay attention to what's going on, because it has become a huge issue in reference to national security, because you have communistic and terroristic countries that are here in Oklahoma, and they're moving this product on the black market and and laundering money, millions and billions of dollars, back to these countries, which is funding these terroristic and communistic states. That has become a national security issue for the U.S. by what's going on here in Oklahoma.
How dangerous is some of these, for lack of a better term, how dangerous are some of these raids or inspections?
So she can answer for the inspection part of it. And for the raids, we do this just like any other raid that we do. We go in with full body armor, it's a tactical movement. And a lot of people criticize our secrecy. We have to maintain the integrity of the investigation because of the people that I've talked about. They're very influential. There's billions of dollars involved in this, and it becomes extremely dangerous if the integrity of that investigation gets out and they know that we're coming down the road when we're coming. For example, this place here, we had to cut our way into it, and you can see it's a very big complex with a lot of people, and it was a 100% black market operation with ties to a crime syndicate. So obviously there's a degree of danger that are involved in these for us. And Director Berry, you can reference to the inspections.
Inspections are done by regulatory inspectors, so these are unarmed civilians that work for OMMA. We do have a small unit of CLEAT certified officers that can go out with our inspectors to help them, especially if we have intel that there might be danger at a location.
I believe this is probably more for you, Director Anderson. There was a quadruple homicide in Hennessy last year. I know that's actively going through the court system now, that, you know, included some of these transnational groups. Can you kind of break down how many active cases like that you know of are in the state right now?
Well, we currently have several hundred ongoing investigations in the medical marijuana industry right now. I actually, this year is the first year since I started this that I felt like there was a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You know, when you go, you see a difference of 6,200 grows in 2 years. Some people may not think that's significant, but what we do, that is extremely significant. We're nowhere near where I think we need to be. If you look at states around us, like Arkansas, we still have way too many grows, way too many.
Is it, I don't want to say easier, is maybe the wrong term, but I can't come up with the word. For something in eastern Oklahoma, on tribal land with McGirt and everything, and it's still being Schedule 1, do you have more resources in the eastern part of the state to fight this as opposed to non-tribal lands?
No. No, it actually, McGirt complicates this, especially if it's a native that's involved in it.
Is there, say, a top 3 to 5 nations that are folks that are, what countries are they coming from to operate out of here? What are your kind of top 3?
Mexico, China, and Russia is our top 3.
Have you had any moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is Putin's best friend or something like that? Or?
No, but we have obviously we have more concern over some of the political ties to China and what's going on in Oklahoma than necessarily to Russia. But obviously those two countries get along and fair with each other as well. But we've had more political ties tied back to China to here to Oklahoma and across the U.S. I mean, it's across the U.S. where the way these organizations have embedded in the U.S. with everything from politics to law enforcement.
Let me get your reaction, because I know we're going to see this on social media tonight. I always see this comment, every marijuana practitioner store. This is just a plant. Why aren't you guys going after the fentanyl and the white powder?
Well, that's a very good question, because that's one thing you also have to understand over the last 3 years we've done. We haven't dropped that off either. We have had record seizures in our state. Even the philosophy of how we address and do enforcement has changed since I've been here. We have had record seizures every year since I've been here on methamphetamine. So it hasn't dropped off, and we're still going after it. But if we turn our blind eye like it was done before I came here and before Director Berry started doing their enforcement, we would continue seeing the homicides, the violent crimes, the illegal gambling, the prostitution, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking will continue. If we do not do the criminal enforcement and we do not continue shutting these down, and there is a difference between her regulatory authority and my criminal authority, because we investigate these things as a whole, meaning OBN, to dismantle the organization. If we don't dismantle this organization, take out all of the organization, they will continue to operate. So if we just go shut down a farm and we're not taking the bad seed with it, it's going to continue to grow.
I know you said this is part of a larger investigation. Has there been a community effort or people sending in tips? Has that played a role into you discovering some of these farms?
We do. We get tips every day through social media, calls. We get tips, hundreds of tips every day. They are starting to slow down a little bit, but we still get hundreds of tips every day on marijuana farms across Oklahoma.
Where are the trafficking victims coming from? I mean, what happens to them after there's a raid and some arrests?
So we have identified people from all the countries above that I mentioned before. We offer them services. Some of those people take services. We can't force those services upon them, but we make those services available. We actually have people available today for if there is people there that we think are facing labor, sex, or human trafficking. We have people there today to address that problem. We have them there at every one of our scenes that we operate at.
Any anecdotes as to how long some of these folks have been trafficked?
Some, when we came in contact, had been in the country for a month. Some had just came into the country, and some have been here for years. Anything else? Or for Director Berry?
Yeah, do you have an age range on those trafficked people? Have any children been caught up in this?
No, we have not seen any children. Anything for Director Berry? Thank y'all for coming. We appreciate you.
Oh, I just want to say one thing. While our compliance efforts are essential to regulating a safe and fair market, they are absolutely essential to patient health and safety, and they are always going to be our #1 priority. So our compliance efforts aren't only to rein in this industry and make sure we're regulating to the efficiency we need to be, but it's to protect public health.
Yeah, no, it's a completely different story.
But at the end of the day, it was 9 versus 12, and so it came out to 9 versus 12. Yeah. I mean, talk about surviving every day.